Welcome back to Cyber Aces. I'm your host, Tim Medine. This is the conclusion of Module 1 Linux, at least the Linux part. We still have the Windows piece to go. But this is Session 7, Installing Software. This set of tutorials is part of a larger set of tutorials, including networking and system administration and scripting. This is the end of our Linux operating system portion, installing software. Now, before we can install software, we of course need the software to be installed. What we could do is get it from a CD or DVD, like it's 1995, or more likely from the internet. The vast majority of these packages are going to be available that way. Now, the packages, the software, come in two different forms. The first is source that we're going to have to manually compile ourselves. The second, and frankly more common, are going to be packages that are going to be come with our distribution and be pre-compiled or pre-configured for our distribution. And the installation is relatively simple and straightforward. To install software from source, I'm going to first extract the source, and then we're going to use a series of commands. We'll use the /configure, and that's going to configure our make file. We'll then use make to actually compile and build the software, and then make install. We need to use sudo here because oftentimes it's going to write into locations that a normal user cannot do. Now, the installation here could be a little bit different depending on the software. Sometimes they won't have make files. Sometimes they won't have an auto configuration file, but this is a very common way to install software from source. Instead of running these a single command at a time, we can combine all these. Now you'll notice off to the left, instead of the $, we now have the hash. This means we have root access. And the reason that's important is because it's going to make the last command run a little bit more smoothly, that make install. We're going to put our /configure, the make, and make install all on the same line, separated by the $ampersand. The $ampersand says only run the next command if the previous one is successful. So assuming the configure is successful, we'll then execute the make. Assuming the compilation is successful, we'll then install. If we want to uninstall, we might be able to use make uninstall. Again, this might not always work. It depends on how the author of the source wrote the make file and if it includes ways to clean up after itself. Most of the time, you're going to install software through a package manager. And of course, different distributions are going to have different package managers. With Red Hat, we have RPM, the Red Hat Package Manager. And on Debian and Ubuntu, Ubuntu is Debian based, we have apt. So the packages contain pre-compiled software. The nice thing is it's going to be much faster. We don't have to recompile every time we install. Someone has done that for us. Makes it much, much, much faster. If I have the RPM file, I can use RPM to install it, assuming, of course, we're on one of the Red Hat-based systems. So I'll say RPM-U, it means install or upgrade. V means be verbose. And then the H means print the progress bar. I hate it when commands use an H and it doesn't mean help, but whatever. And then we're going to specify the name of our RPM file. Alternatively, I could give it the location of an online RPM file. So you can see in this second example, we have given location on the internet. If I want to remove, I can use the -E for erase and give it the application name. I will not use the RPM name. I'm going to give it the package name. If I want to see what we have installed, if I want to validate the package before I install it, I can use the capital VA, and it's going to verify the integrity of my package. Now, a lot of these are going to, of course, these packages are going to be available online. What I don't want to have to do is go find the name of the package and the exact URL and get the latest and greatest version number correct. Instead, I can use my package repository to do that for me. On my Red Hat systems, I can use a tool called Yum. Let's talk through now installing some packages. First, before we begin this exercise, you will need an active internet connection. So first, let's confirm we have an IP address. To get an IP address via DHCP, we're going to run the command shown here, sudo dhclient ens33. That's going to be the name, should be the name of your default interface. Then we'll run ifconfig ens33, and you should see an IP address where we have the 4 X's. Once you have that, then proceed to the next page. Now let's try to run the package nmap. Nmap is a tremendously useful tool for identifying systems and services and doing what's called port scanning. If we run nmap, we can see here that it says command not found. Now let's use RPM with the query all and then pipe that into grep nmap to look for any sort of packages that are installed that contain the word nmap. We do see one specific package installed. It is nmap ncat. This isn't actually nmap. What this is there's actually another tool called netcat. Nmap has upgraded a more powerful version of netcat called ncat. So the nmap ncat you see here is actually netcat, not full-on nmap. Now let's perform a search for nmap. So we'll use yum search nmap, and we can see under the name exactly matched, we do indeed see nmap. Now let's install nmap. We're going to run sudo yum install nmap. It's going to check online. This will take a few moments. We will then be prompted, is this okay? And we can click yes to install the package. The tool will then download the package for us, and then it's going to give us a warning. It's going to say, hey, you don't have the key here. Is this okay? It's okay. We're going to say yes here, accept the key that is going to be used to verify the package. After we have accepted the prompts, we will then see what is being downloaded and installed. Now, the version that you see here might be different than what you see because, of course, the tools will be updated. But at the end here, you should see the complete. Once the install is complete, if we run nmap with the -h to see the help, we should see that it works correctly, and we no longer see the bad command, unknown command. So now let's clean up. Let's remove nmap. So let's use sudo yum erase nmap. We'll see nmap here, the size. We will see the prompt. Is this what we actually want to do? We can simply hit yes here to uninstall nmap. Okay, time for some review questions. Which of the following commands is used to install software from an online repository? Is it install, yum install, RPM install, or install RPM? Second question, which of the following commands is used to query the RPM database to determine if a package is installed? Is it yum find TCP dump? In our example here, we're using TCP dump. Is it RPM TCP dump? Yum search TCP dump? RPM-QA pipe grep TCP dump? Think about this for a second, refer back, and once you've figured out the answer, go to the next page. The answers, which of the following commands is used to install software from an online repository? The answer is yum install. Second question, which of the following commands was used to query the RPM database to determine if a package is already installed? RPM-QA. And then we're going to grep for the package name. In our example, TCP dump. So the QA is going to give us the giant list. The grep is going to filter the list just looking at TCP dump. We can also update our software with our repository. So for example, on my Red Hat based systems, I can say yum update, and that's going to update everything. Now, of course, I need to run this as root. We can see the hash off to the side. If I was a regular user, I could use sudo yum update. If I want to update one specific package, yum update and the package name. If I want to update everything except a specific package, yum update exclude TCP dump. Of course, TCP dump here is the name of the package. So what we could do here is sudo yum update. This is the one exercise where it's more interesting to watch this one than do, and the reason is this can take a long time to perform the updates. So sudo yum update, it's going to show us all of the things to update. More questions. Which of the following commands is used to install software updates? RPM update, update, yum update, or install update? Second question, which of the following commands is used to update all of the installed packages except HTTPD? I'm not going to read these commands because they're a little bit verbose, but once you have your answer, go on to the next page. Otherwise, pause here, think about it, or refer back to the previous pages. The answers here, which of the following commands is used to install software updates? Yum update. Which of the following commands is used to update all RPM packages except HTTPD? In this case, it would be yum update -- exclude HTTPD. With that, this wraps up our installing software portion of Linux. In fact, this even wraps up the Linux piece of our operating systems. So we practiced a little bit with CentOS. I hope you followed along with all of the exercises. If not, feel free to go back and work with that. One thing I would encourage you to do if you want to get more familiar with Linux, you're going to have to use it. You're going to have to sort of draw a line in the sand and say, you know what, I'm going to solve some problems using Linux. Now, sometimes Linux creates more problems than it solves, but it's important. You've got to use this for a while to get used to it. If you're moving from Windows, if you're moving from a Mac, you need to get used to it, which means you have to force yourself to use it. It's a tremendously powerful operating system. And if you're doing any sort of hacking or frankly defenses, you've got to get some hands-on skills with Linux. It's a very valuable skill set. So as we mentioned, this is going to conclude the Linux portion of our first module. After this, in our next session, we're going to switch over to Windows. So we'll introduce ourselves to some of the guts of Windows. We'll learn ways to interact with Windows as well as the command line.